Hello, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Allison Whiteside, and I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Environics Analytics, focused on telecommunications, automotive, and sports and entertainment. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Russ Fenske, Vice President of Marketing at AutoCanada. Russ has been leading data and analytics teams for 20 years, specializing in the intersection of analytics and marketing. He has a resume that is diverse and includes leadership roles at Intuit, the Alberta Motor Association, Go Auto, the Canadian Western Bank, and the Canadian Brewhouse. He has been working with Environics data since 2012, and I can say it's a complete pleasure to work with Russ. He is a rock star. Russ has a business degree from the University of Alberta and a Master's of Science in Business, specializing in operations research from the University of British Columbia. In today's presentation, Russ will talk about the innovative ways that AutoCanada is getting close to real-time one-to-one marketing. With that, I'd like to pass it over to Russ.
Hi, everybody. My name is Russ Fenske. As Allison mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Marketing, which is ironic because I don't really consider myself a marketer. I'm really more of an analytics guy, a strategy guy. I thought I'd start by talking to you about AutoCanada. There's a really good chance you haven't heard of AutoCanada. We don't talk about the brand very often. But it is a big company. So we're 81 franchised car dealerships. We have 3 used-only stores, 29 collision centers. We represent 27 different manufacturers. Last year, we earned a little over $5.3 billion in revenue and sold 97,000 cars. This year is a really interesting year for AutoCanada. We're going through a major transformation. I call it our sort of get slim for summer year. We're trying to drop $100 million of expenses to roughly double the profitability of the company. Over the last 4 months, if you check this, it's a publicly traded company. Over the last 4 months, the stock price has doubled. This was up until, I think, 2 weeks ago. Today, it's trading around $34. So I think that the street's very excited about the kind of work that we're doing. There's a lot going on in the automotive retail market. I'm sure most of you guys would have seen news like this or news other than this. Tons of change happening. So from a tariff perspective, this obviously changes how we do business. It changes how the manufacturers are shipping cars to and from Canada. When changes to tariffs are announced, we see spikes or drops in sales accordingly. We're starting to see shifts in online shopping and buying behaviors. It's really hard to buy a car online in Canada today, but it's starting to get easier. So Amazon is going to start listing cars from Hertz directly online. Up until today, this is really tricky. Expecting this to change immediately. We're seeing a big shift towards EVs and hybrids in the market. EVs today in Canada make up a little less than 14% of our market. Even within the EV trend, though, there's some quick changes. So hybrids are starting to take share away from the EVs themselves. EVs are becoming slightly less popular. We're seeing car buyers take longer terms when they buy cars, meaning they're taking 7- and 8-year car loans. This means that we see them less often because when they buy the car, they end up in a negative equity position, i.e. they owe more on the car than it's worth, so they're less likely to bring it into trade. We're seeing all kinds of shifts towards autonomous driving. I don't know if you guys saw the news, but Waymo has started launching cars in Denver. This is exciting. There's a world in the not so distant future where people won't need cars nearly as much, where you can comfortably live. In cities like Toronto, it's easy to imagine living without a car. In cities like Edmonton, it's hard. I don't think I mentioned I'm from Edmonton. Hi, everybody. There's new global competition. This market's been shifting for a long time. As of last year, 39% of cars made were made in China. This is a huge shift, and will be a continued shift. Some of the technology and some of the cars that they are making in China is vastly different and very innovative compared to what we're seeing on the domestic front. So the challenge for us as AutoCanada, as a retailer, is how do we build a durable competitive advantage? I really loved the idea presented this morning that the only way to do this is through being able to learn faster. From our end, I think we took a very similar tack. We talked about this as our customer data platform. So this year we've started a new project, and the idea is, can we take all of the information that we have about a customer, put it into one common spot, clean it up, make it actionable, so that we can then turn around and start to use it for marketing purposes. So we're taking information about how people browse the website, whether or not they opened or respond to an email, the chat that they have online with somebody while they're in the buying process, their service history with us, any reviews that they've made, plus information like the great stuff that we get from Environics around more broadly, who they are and their PRISM profiles. The goal is to try to make as much of that information directly relevant to the communications that people are getting from us, to increase the chances that we could see more conversion, i.e. higher sales or service in our stores than our competitors. If we take a look at the partnerships in this case, I thought I'd mention a couple of sort of key partners along the route. So there's sort of five big steps here. One, we're pulling in data from about 80 different sources, trying to marry it all together so that it all sort of talks the same language. We're doing two things to clean up our information. We're partnering with Jeff at CleanList. It's great to see you, Jeff. To help us deduplicate and understand our customer data a little bit better. I think at first blush when we sent our customer, this has been a really wonderful arrangement. We've started our conversations. We sent along customer information to do a proof of concept. Would this make sense for us? I think our customer address accuracy was something like 23%. Post-work, I think it's more like 49%. So we more than doubled the addressable audience. We learned a lot about our customers that we otherwise couldn't have known. I really appreciate the help. We're also partnering with Carfax. They do a similar thing with us with respect to the cars. So they'll let us know if cars are still on the road, if cars have switched jurisdictions or in different provinces, if they've been sold, so that we can update our records on our side, i.e. we can stop contacting somebody about a car they drove 10 years ago when they sold it 5 years ago. We augment the information with all of the great PRISM information from Environics. We pull it together in a CDP tool. This is the tool on the list that's technically considered a customer data platform called Telium. This is what makes the data more actionable, and then that plugs into an activation tool called Iterable. Iterable is the thing that'll actually send out customer emails, text messages. We can use that to add people automatically to online advertising audiences or drop them as required. This is sort of the suite of things. This is the tech stack that we're building out as part of our CDP. So the use case, to try to bring this to life a little bit, I'll talk about a really specific example. Imagine that AutoCanada knows me. I'm an existing customer. I've been a customer before. I'm not an active shopper online, but all of a sudden my shopping behavior changes. So I get really excited. I start browsing. I'm looking at a specific car. We'll pretend it's a Ford F-150. If AutoCanada knows this, this is obviously useful to us as marketers. This is a trigger point. This is something that puts me into a different segment, into a different audience. And so there's a number of things that we can do to see if we can enhance the chance that we could sell Russ a car. So 3 things that we list on the slide that are ideas. 1, if we're sending out a regular newsletter, maybe we swap out some of the content so that it's more directly related to the things that I'm interested in. So we litter in some F-150s or talk about the specials on F-150s this month. 2, we could trigger a text message from either the general manager at the store or the salesperson that I saw last to say like, hey Russ, haven't heard from you in a while. We'd love to connect and see how you're doing, just to help start a conversation. Or we could do something totally different, like put together an offer where, hey Russ, come on in as a loyal customer, we're doing a special this month where we're detailing cars for free. Love to see you in the showroom. When I come in, we know that I'm interested in the Ford F-150, so we've pulled it up to the front already. I walk by it casually, thinking it's happenstance. When the service manager goes to do the detail, they give me the choice. You can wait in the waiting room for us, or you're welcome to take something out for a test drive if you'd like, so that it feels more natural and gives us a better chance as AutoCanada of earning that car deal. In terms of where we are for our big project, this has been running for us for about 9 months now. There's a lot of heavy lifting involved in terms of the data work. So we're just at the point where we're starting to actually send out emails. We're starting to suppress audiences. We're starting to do some of the nitty-gritty stuff that you'd associate with a CDP. But what I'm really most excited about is where we can start to introduce the AI stuff, which is going to be coming in fairly immediately. So the idea, how can we take some of the really great information that we use as part of the PRISM context, use that to personalize data to optimize conversion. So again, I'll try to use an example. If someone's if they're on a car lease and they're planning, and that car lease is coming up for renewal, those folks renew into a new car lease roughly 30% of the time. It's likely one of the best audiences segments that we know about in terms of car marketing for targeting someone to do something we want them to do. If we took that specific group, somebody whose lease is coming up for expiry, we know who they are, we know what they drive, we likely know which communication channels work, so which, are they opening and reading emails, are they clicking through, have they responded to text messages, have they called us before? We could personalize a message to them using the Environics data to enhance the chance of conversion. So if you guys haven't played with this stuff, I would start by saying, especially having listened to Jan talk about governance no less than an hour ago, do make sure you're wearing a seatbelt and a helmet. Make sure you're following whatever security or governance practices that your company apply. In our company, Google is considered, we have a Google workspace that we can use and that is considered absolutely secure. You can go ahead and you can try setting up a Google Gemini gem. So a gem 6 months ago, I think in March, Google allows the gem production to be free. So there's no incremental cost to doing this. It takes a couple of minutes. We use this as kind of a prototyping place. This is a way you can build a chatbot in likely less than 5 minutes. So there's the first 2 steps. 1, you give it a name. So you give it a name called lease expiry. 2, you give it instructions. This is an awful lot like a prompt. So you'd tell it, hey, I need you to write an email. It's about lease expiry. Assume we're a car dealership and we're trying to influence somebody to come in and buy a new car. We add a couple of very specific prompts around make sure you use the Environics segmentation to help color the tone and language of the email. And then check relevant manufacturer offers to see if there's something that applies. So the last thing we can add is knowledge. So in this case, we can add files. So in this case, you're providing it with some extra information that it can use as reference material in order to write a great email. Once you've set this up, you write a sample prompt, and it will provide sample output. You play with this kind of mix of things with the instructions and the knowledge until you get something that you're happy with, and you've kind of created your chatbot. You can do this on your phone, you can do this at a computer, you can set something up in 5 minutes or less. My guess is if to get something that you love, it'll take more like an hour. You can use this as a crude prototype to share stuff internally. So this is an example of what some of the output looks like. Technically, Google's hasn't set up the functionality so that these are nicely or cleanly, easily shared online internally. That is the plan. That's what they've said. Excuse me. But you can take the instructions out, migrate them through different folks' accounts. You can show people how to set these up themselves. In an environment where I work, where we have 650 different salespeople, this is actually a useful and working prototype. Folks, we could work on this today and deploy it tomorrow to have people writing better sales content. Where car salespeople aren't necessarily all marketers. Some of them are really great in person, have a hard time with words. Some of them, English isn't their first language. This gives us an advantage already out of the box with basically no work, where we can help leverage what we know about how people work with marketing to deploy stuff directly. But this is kind of the first level one of how we tackle this. Level two is like right around the corner, and it's not much harder. So if you haven't played with the Google Vertex tool set, it's a slightly more technical tool set than that. So you need a little bit more of a data background to do it, but it allows you to build your own processes and applications. So instead of doing this for one person at a time, you could do it for all of your customers, for all business scenarios, for all of the car dealerships. You're just asking it to go loop through a process that's kind of similar. It's also not that hard to imagine the level past this where instead of just writing emails, text messages, or call scripts, we're asking it to do stuff that's more agent-like, where it's making phone calls, building video, doing stuff that's just one step past. But for now, for us, this is kind of the roadmap and what we're committing to. The plan is really to try to take, so this is a list of a random set of customers who fall into different customer segments. You can run it through. If you wanted to set something up in Vertex, it's not 5 minutes, but it's more like 5 hours. You can be doing same-day deployments. Really cool to be sort of living in this world of AI where stuff is changing so quickly. So for us, in terms of next steps, our process, we're experimenting prototyping right now. We're trying to tighten up how we do this and sort of what the prompting looks like. But our goal is really to be deploying stuff like this and move it into production for Q1 of next year. I did want to chat for a second. Rosa asked me to talk for a second about the value of Prism to me. I've been using the Environics tools now for 14 years. I've introduced them at 2 companies, and I think I pitched them at 2 others. I absolutely love the Environics tool set. For me, it helps me instantly build credibility with stakeholders. I think the part about it that's really so spectacular is just how easy it is to understand, how relatable it is when you get somebody to put in their postal code and talk to them about their Prism segment and ask them if they think it fits. There's an incredible amount of value in the actual business applications that you have for it, but for me, the really winning part of the formula is just how much it impacts the amount of trust it builds between me and my business partners. So I think that was kind of all the slides I had for chatting. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. So I'll paraphrase the question, and please correct me if I'm wrong. The question is, can we use the information about someone's website browsing? What tool are we using, and how do we address the privacy associated with it? Yeah, so right now we're kind of doing the plumbing to make this work now. This is part of the native functionality of Telium, is that it does this website tracking and identity resolution on its own. In order for us to make sure that we're privacy compliant, we work with our legal partners to change the privacy statements on the website so that that's obvious and clear. We're also running a parallel project to launch a new consent management platform so that we're really absolutely crystal clear with people as to exactly how their information's being used and make sure that we're doing it with their permission. But, yeah.
Hi. I don't currently use Prism segmentation, but
Yeah.
I'm very interested in
Yeah.
learning about how I can integrate it into my marketing to be more effective, as I think,
Yeah.
as is the theme of the conference. Can you talk a little bit more about, especially given all of the other data sources you have, how do you, like tactically speaking, weave in information from the Prism segments in a way that feels organic and relevant and that actually drives incremental conversions?
Yeah, so, maybe I'll start by the direct application here is a little bit like, at least in my previous lives, I've treated the variable content associated with a marketing communication is really the person's information. So we change their name, hi, insert name, and then if we're talking to them about their car, we know that you're driving the insert car. Now the hope is that we're using stuff like the social values information to also influence, to allow the AI to influence the language of how it's presented. So whether we want it to be more direct versus more concise, whether we want it to be persuasive versus we want it to take a longer form. I think my hope is that we're using the Environics core content and the AI together to allow it to change the content. In my past, we've used it to create broader segments and then deployed separate marketing based on how we interpreted, I'm a hand talker, based on how we thought people might be using the information. So I don't know if that answered the question. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Russ. That was a great session. Really good session.